Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US acknowledges it has security, shipped significant number of long-range missiles to Ukraine in recent weeks, and Ukraine has now used them twice. Israel says it is moving ahead with its planned military operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. UN Gaza aid envoy calls on Israel to take swifter action to allow a sustained flow of assistance into the Gaza Strip. Arizona's fight over 1864 abortion ban continues. Lawmakers in the state's House of Representatives vote to repeal the ban. State Senate needs to pass it within weeks to complete the process. Last date for filing of nomination for constituencies in Phase 4 of India's general elections. India all set to vote in the second phase of polls on Friday. 88 of 543 seats to India's lower house of parliament will go to polls on April 26. As the Russia-Ukraine conflict continues, US claims that Ukraine sustained its offensive against Russia with uninterrupted support of secretly shipped missiles. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan confirmed that significant number of long-range missiles were recently shipped to Ukraine and that it has now used them twice against Russia. Adding further, he said that US will send more of it for Ukraine. The Pentagon initially opposed the long-range missile deployment, fearing the loss of missiles from the country's stockpile, which would hurt US military readiness.
I'm able to confirm, as you've heard from others, that in February, the President directed his team to provide Ukraine with a significant number of ATACMS missiles for use inside Ukraine's sovereign territory. That shipment started moving in March as part of the PDA that the President authorized on March 12th, and those missiles have arrived in Ukraine. We will send more now that we have additional both authority and money.
US President Joe Biden signed a $95 billion war aid measure with assistance for Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan after months of long Republican battle. The bill, signed into law on Wednesday, includes $61 billion in aid to Ukraine and $26 billion for Israel, as well as $1 billion in humanitarian assistance to Gaza and $8 billion to counter China's military might. Biden's announcement marks an end to the long 6 months of battle with Republicans in Congress over urgently needed assistance for Ukraine. This month, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky approved a new mobilization law with an aim to replenish the country's exhausted and depleted troops after more than 2 years of war against Russia. But because Ukraine soldiers are vastly outnumbered by Russian forces on the front lines, it is looking like those who have been fighting since the start of the conflict will have to remain on the battlefield. Megumilim gets us more.
Military recruitment ads have become ubiquitous in Ukraine. Some look like movie posters, hoping they will attract more people to join the fight. Before Ukraine's parliament passed the new mobilization law on April 11th, an army general gave lawmakers a sobering report. Ukraine's troops were outnumbered 7 to 10 times on the eastern front lines.
I ask you, pass this law. We need it badly. We need it very much. Our defences are on their last breath.
The decision to pass the final bill was not an easy one. More than 4,000 amendments were made during months of debate.
President Zelensky signed the bill on April 16th, and the law will come into effect within a month from then. It will require men aged 18 to 60 to register their personal information with military authorities, so those who are eligible can be called up to fight. Those living abroad who fail to do so may be denied certain consular services, and for those evading the draft, they'll now have to face a fine.
For many, the hope was that the mobilization law would also include provisions to demobilize soldiers who have been fighting since the start of the full-scale invasion. But with Ukrainian troops outmanned and outgunned on the battlefield, service limits were dropped completely.
Now almost everyone has an acquaintance, a friend or a relative who's on the front lines, and everyone knows that most of the people who are there now have been there for too long, without rest, without vacations, without anything.
Experts say rotating troops out now would be detrimental to the fight.
Because if we have a tough situation on the battlefield and we need more and more brigades, and of course with some experience, because can you imagine that if you change the 80% of the experienced soldiers and officers, they go home, and after this arrive the new guys, it will be disaster actually.
The coming months will be crucial for Ukraine. Russian forces are expected to mount a major offensive in the late spring or summer. And Kyiv will need to muster as many people and resources as possible to hold the front line. Megumi Lim in Kyiv reporting for DD India.
As Israel-Hamas conflict continues, Israeli troops are moving ahead with the planned military operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. The army is prepared to remove civilians from the conflict-struck region, though Prime Minister Netanyahu's government gave no timeline. Earlier, Israeli warplanes attacked northern Gaza Strip for a second day on Wednesday. At the White House, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said Washington is still talking with Israel about Rafah, and officials from both the countries expected to meet again in person soon.
Tell you is the U.S. position has been clear on this. I've stated it from this podium. The president has spoken to it. And we've had very detailed discussions with the Israelis as recently as last week by secure video to talk through not just our concerns, but our view that there is a different way to go about dealing with the Hamas threat in Rafah and succeeding in ensuring the long-term defense and security of Israel. We are still in those conversations, and we will still continue to press our perspective.
Meanwhile, United Nations has urged Israel for a swifter action to allow sustained flow of assistance into the Gaza Strip. A top UN aid official on Wednesday said that Israel should take further definitive and urgent steps as aid workers needed safe access to and throughout Gaza. Israel pledged nearly 3 weeks ago to improve aid access, including reopening the Erez crossing into northern Gaza and allowing temporary use of Ashdod port in southern Israel. The volume of aid allowed to enter Gaza has increased.
At this perilous moment, President Biden has called on Israel to take a series of specific, concrete, and measurable steps to address this humanitarian crisis, protect civilians from harm, and ensure the safety of all aid workers. Israel must do more to prevent civilian casualties immediately. And President Biden has made clear that U.S. policy will be determined by our assessment of Israel's immediate and sustained action on these steps.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Shanghai on Wednesday for a 3-day diplomatic mission. The visit comes mere hours after the U.S. Senate passed a bill that includes new funding for Taiwan and TikTok divestment or ban bill. Blinken, in a short video statement posted on X with the Shanghai skyline in the background late on Wednesday, said curbing the flow of chemicals used to make fentanyl to the U.S. from China was one of the several issues he was in China to work on.
President Biden, President Xi, when they met in San Francisco at the end of last year, agreed to cooperate to help prevent fentanyl and the ingredients that make it from getting to the United States. We'll be working on that. Besides my counterparts in the Chinese government, I'll be talking to students, to academics, to business leaders, the people who are building bridges and ties between our countries. And of course, we'll be dealing with areas where we have real differences with China, dealing with them directly, communicating clearly. Face-to-face diplomacy matters. It's important for avoiding miscommunications, misperceptions, and to advance the interests of the American people. I look forward to productive meetings here in Shanghai and in Beijing.
This is Antony Blinken's second visit to mainland, where he will meet with business leaders and Foreign Minister Wang Yi. He's also likely to speak with President Xi Jinping. Meanwhile, China has cautioned the US against supporting Taiwan, saying strengthening military collusion between the two will only escalate tensions and the risk of conflict in the Taiwan Strait.
Strengthening military collusion between the United States and Taiwan will not bring security to Taiwan, nor can it save Taiwan from the doomed fate of independence, but will only push up tensions and the risk of conflict and confrontation in the Taiwan Strait, and will ultimately be like lifting a rock and stoning one's own foot.
Former US President Donald Trump has again claimed that the court-ordered silence in his hush money case is unconstitutional. Prosecutors accused he broke the gag rule 11 times. Judge Huma Merkin said has not yet decided on the punishment. Also, DD India's William Densler reports on the latest developments from New York.
In a social media post, Donald Trump said the gag order against him in the hush money case was unprecedented and part of a trial that's rigged against him. It's a claim the Republican presidential frontrunner has repeated regularly during the trial. Donald Trump faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, tied to allegations that he paid hush money to a porn star in the lead up to the 2016 presidential election. Trump denies the charges, and on Wednesday again claimed that the legal proceedings are a political witch hunt, aimed at hurting his chances of regaining the presidency in November. Taking to Truth Social, the former president ought to accuse two other New York judges who presided over several of his recent civil cases of being corrupt and working for the Democrats. Court was out of session on Wednesday, but witness David Pecker is expected to be back on the stand on Thursday. The former publisher of the National Enquirer alleges that he coordinated with Donald Trump to prevent potentially politically damaging stories from hitting the headlines in the lead-up to the 2016 election. Trump's legal team say their client has committed no crimes. William Denslow in New York, reporting for DD India.
The US Supreme Court is hearing arguments in a case on Thursday that could have a major impact on the next presidential election. It will consider whether Donald Trump is immune from prosecution concerning criminal election interference cases against him. Let's take a look at DD India's Caroline Malone's report on this.
A potentially pivotal moment is happening for former President Donald Trump at the Supreme Court on Thursday. That's when the top court's 9 justices will hear arguments over whether he has presidential immunity for being tried in election interference cases. Now, Trump's lawyers are likely to argue that he should have immunity over official acts that he was conducting while he was in the White House. And that's in reference to some of the events leading up to and on the day of January 6th, the Capitol attack, when mobs stormed into the Congress to try and stop the election being officially declared for Joe Biden, of course, the current president. Now, the prosecution team, being led by Special Counsel Jack Smith, says he doesn't have immunity. There is some precedence for immunity for presidents in the United States, but more related to civil cases rather than criminal. And so they argue this case should go ahead. Their wider federal criminal case against Trump can't go ahead, though, until the Supreme Court issues an opinion. Now, that might not happen until the end of June, but we could get some sense about which way the justices are leaning when we hear how they question both Trump's lawyers and the prosecution team on Thursday. And of course, the opinion and the result from the Supreme Court could have an impact on this year's November presidential election, which is a likely rematch between Biden and Trump, with voters basically deciding whether they want Trump, who could at that point have been part of a number of criminal cases, to be back in the White House, or they want the incumbent, Joe Biden. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
All right, now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. A week-long conference on renewable energy began in Nepal on Wednesday. The focus is on sustainable and renewable energy, Nepal's irrigation sector, along with other issues. The conference would look for collaborative strategies for climate resilience at a time of worsening climate change. Energy Week targets stakeholders ranging from policymakers to practitioners. The Retail Summit 2024, an international platform for problems and solutions related to retail, is taking place in Dubai. This year's event focuses on themes such as AI, data, digital transformation and more. The two-day event focuses on understanding current consumer trends and how modern technologies can enhance customer experiences. A group of mainland performers with hearing and sight disabilities have brought a new musical show for the first time to Hong Kong. They performed the beautiful story of goddess Guanyin depicting with 1,000 hands. The group danced together in synchronized movements so seamlessly that it appeared as though one entity with several arms is moving about space. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, CEO of JP Morgan Chase and Company, Jamie Dimon, heaps praise on Prime Minister Modi for uplifting the education system and overall infrastructure. Stay with us for a sneak peek into how political temperatures are soaring ahead of the second phase polling on Friday. IMD predicts mercury to further soar in the coming days in East and South Peninsular India. Stay with us as we get you more details.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. The CEO of JP Morgan Chase and Company, Jamie Dimon, has lauded India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his achievements in the country. Speaking at a webinar organized by the Economic Club of New York, he highlighted Prime Minister Modi's unbelievable job in uplifting India. Praising the reforms by the current government in the recent past, he noted that India has an unbelievable education system and also unbelievable infrastructure.
Modi has done an unbelievable job in India. I mean, literally, and I know, the liberal press here, they beat the hell out of him. He's taken 400 million people out of poverty. When we go lecture Modi about, when they want trade with us, but we lecture literally. I go to these countries soon after a lot of our government officials there. It's like we're fantasizing about, climate and labor and how we think they should be running their country. He has 400 million people without toilets. Really? And we're lecturing them how to do things? They put in this unbelievable, every citizen by hand or by eyeball or by finger is recognized. They open bank accounts for 700 million people. The transfer payments are going through. They've got an unbelievable education system, unbelievable infrastructure. They're lifting up that whole country because this one man is he's tough. But I think you have to be tough to break that down, and he's breaking down some of the bureaucracy. They have, I think it's 29 states or something like that, but they all had completely different, it's almost like Europe, they have completely different tax systems, which leads to enormous corruption. He's breaking all that stuff down. And so, yeah, there are examples of people who have just turned these things around, and we need a little bit more of that here.
And now we get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Preparations are in full swing for the second phase of Lok Sabha elections, for which voting will be held on Friday. The elections will be held in 88 Lok Sabha seats in 13 states and union territories, including the remaining part of the outer Manipur Lok Sabha constituency. Polling for the Bethul parliamentary constituency of Madhya Pradesh, which was scheduled in the second phase, will be held in the third phase due to the demise of BSP candidate. A total of 1,198 candidates from 13 states and union territories, along with 4 candidates from the outer Manipur Lok Sabha constituency, are in the fray in this phase. Campaigning for the second phase of India's general elections ended on Wednesday, while it was marked as the hottest day in campaigning when the chair of the Indian Overseas Congress, Sam Pitroda, courted controversy by advocating an inheritance tax in India. He backed the Congress party's stand on redistribution of wealth. BJP has criticized Congress's manifesto, saying that the document smacks of appeasement and that if the Congress party came to power, it would redistribute people's wealth and give reservation to Muslims from the quota meant for certain castes. Top leaders of major political parties made last-ditch efforts to woo the voters by holding back-to-back rallies and roadshows. Prime Minister and senior BJP leader Narendra Modi addressed a public meeting in Ambikapur city of Chhattisgarh and at Sagar district in Madhya Pradesh on Wednesday. Senior BJP leader Amit Shah held a poll meeting at Alapur in Kerala. BJP President JP Nadda addressed a public meeting in Bhagalpur in Bihar. Grand Alliance leaders of RJD, Congress and left parties also campaigned in support of their candidates. Senior Congress leader Rahul Gandhi attended an election rally in Amravati Lok Sabha constituency of Maharashtra on Wednesday. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge spoke at a social justice conclave organized by the party in the national capital. As India's general elections are being held in 7 phases, campaigning continues for the 3rd phase. The Bharatiya Janata Party is set to raise the pitch of the 2024 Lok Sabha poll battle with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 32 rallies and roadshows across 10 states in the next 10 days. Prime Minister and senior BJP leader Narendra Modi will address 4 rallies on Thursday, starting from Morena Lok Sabha, which is a bastion of the BJP in Madhya Pradesh. It will go to polls in the 3rd phase on May 7th. Prime Minister will address election rallies in Agra, Aonla and Shahjahanpur Lok Sabha seats of Uttar Pradesh. Senior BJP leader Rajnath Singh will also hold public meeting in Etawah and Khiri in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Senior BJP leader Amit Shah will hold a public meeting in Medak Lok Sabha constituency in the southern state of Telangana. He will also hold a public meeting in Bolangir Lok Sabha constituency in Odisha. Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Y.S. Jagannath Reddy, will file his nomination from Puli-Vendula Assembly constituency. Samajwadi Party leader Akhilesh Yadav will also file his nomination from the state of Uttar Pradesh. Eight parliamentary seats of the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh will also go to polls in the second phase on Friday. The 8 seats stretch from Gautam Budh Nagar, close to the national capital Delhi, to Amroha in western Uttar Pradesh. Take a look at this detailed report.
Uttar Pradesh is the most crucial state in the Indian elections in terms of the parliamentary seats. The state with the largest population in India also has 80 constituencies, more than any other state. For most of the national political parties, Uttar Pradesh, also known as UP, is the hottest state. In the second phase of the general elections, 8 seats will be going for polls from UP. These seats include Amroha, Meerut, Bagpat, Ghaziabad, Gautam Budh Nagar, Bulandshahr, Aligarh and Mathura. Gautam Budh Nagar constituency is shaping up to be a 3-way battle between the Bharatiya Janata Party, Samajwadi Party and Bahujan Samaj Party. From Ghaziabad, BJP's Atul Garg, Dolly Sharma from Congress and Nandkishore Pundir from BSP are in the poll fray. Meanwhile, in Mathura constituency, a fierce triangular contest involving key political players is taking place, where the BJP has thrown its weight behind incumbent Member of Parliament Hema Malini, a well-known Bollywood personality, against Mukesh Dhangar from the Congress and the BSP candidate. Star candidates from other seats of Uttar Pradesh in the second phase involve Meerut, Arun Govil, Bharatiya Janata Party; Amroha, Kunwar Danish Ali, Congress Party; Bagpat, Rajkumar Sangwan, RLD; Aligarh, Satish Kumar Gautam, BJP. Polls in Uttar Pradesh are taking place in all 7 phases of the elections, with the outcome of each and every seat likely to impact the overall outcome of the great Indian elections. The constituencies of Uttar Pradesh that goes for polls for the second phase of general elections have seats not just from the urban constituencies and urban areas but from rural and semi-rural as well. And these constituencies have people not just from the state of Uttar Pradesh but from all across the country, making these seats extremely important for all the political parties to gauge a mood of the public in these elections and to get a glimpse of what the result is going to be like. From Noida, Uttar Pradesh, with camera person Naveen Kumar, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
All right, now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India now. One of India's most expensive varieties of tea, priced at Rs 1.5 lakh per kilogram, is being sold in the Mall Road area in West Bengal's Darjeeling. The store boasts of an extensive tea collection of over 300 varieties. Darjeeling, a town in the foothills of Himalayas, is renowned globally for its tea. The Indian Met Department has forecast that severe heatwave conditions are likely to continue over East and South Peninsular India during the next 5 days. IMD said the maximum temperatures will rise by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius over central and eastern India. On to sports updates now. Indian golfers Aditya Ashok and Diksha Dagar are set to take part in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Aditi will compete for a third time in the Olympics, which is also the most for an Indian, while Diksha will make her second appearance at the marquee event. The Olympic entries are sent by Indian Golf Union. Qualification for Olympics is determined by rankings, which is limited to 60 men's and 60 women's players through the official World Golf Rankings, in short the OWGR. The top 15 players are eligible for the Olympics with a maximum limit of 4 golfers allowed from a single country. After the top 15 players, the Olympic golf rankings consist of up to 2 top eligible players per country, as long as it does not have at least 2 golfers in the top 15. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Also, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.